Life is a cabaret, old chum. Cabaret wasn't just a movie musical about 1930s Berlin nightlife. It was a revolutionary filmmaking experiment that shattered Hollywood conventions, destroyed careers, launched legends, and almost didn't happen at all. Behind the glittering performances and Oscar-winning numbers lurked production chaos that would make today's film sets look like peaceful retreats. Cast members collapsed from exhaustion. Directors battled studio executives in heated boardroom confrontations. And the star everyone thought would destroy the film instead delivered one of cinema's most iconic performances. Today, I'm revealing 12 shocking facts about Cabaret that even the most devoted fans have never heard. But first, here's something that'll blow your mind. There's one detail about this production so bizarre, so completely unexpected, that it changed how musicals were made forever. I'm saving that revelation for the end. So grab your bowler hat, and let's dive into the dark, twisted world behind Cabaret. Liza Minnelli was everyone's last choice. The studio executives wanted anyone except Liza Minnelli. Anyone. When producer Cy Feuer first pitched Minnelli for Sally Bowles, the Allied Artists Board erupted in laughter. Not the good kind, the dismissive, career-ending kind that echoes through Hollywood boardrooms when someone suggests casting that singer's daughter. Minnelli had just come off a string of commercial disasters. Her previous films had bombed so spectacularly that industry insiders whispered she was box office poison. Studio heads saw her as Judy Garland's troubled daughter, not a leading lady capable of carrying a major motion picture. Director Bob Fosse fought for Minnelli with the desperation of a man whose career hung in the balance. His previous directorial effort, Sweet Charity, had flopped despite starring Shirley MacLaine. He needed Cabaret to succeed, and he believed Minnelli possessed something indefinable that the camera would love. The studio's preferred choice? Barbra Streisand. Fresh off Funny Girl, Streisand commanded respect and guaranteed box office returns. But she wanted script changes that would have transformed Cabaret into something unrecognizable. Fosse refused to compromise his vision. He fought for Minnelli through months of hostile meetings, threatened walkouts, and studio ultimatums. The executives finally relented, but only after slashing the film's budget and scheduling by 20%. What none of them realized was that they were witnessing the birth of a screen legend who would redefine what movie musicals could achieve. The Kit Kat Club was built in a condemned building. The iconic Kit Kat Club wasn't born on a glossy Hollywood soundstage. It rose from the ruins of a condemned Munich brewery that hadn't seen maintenance since before World War II. Production designer Rolf Zehetbauer stumbled upon the abandoned Lowenbräu brewery during location scouting. Scheduled for demolition, it was exactly what Cabaret needed: cheap, atmospheric, and steeped in authentic decay. But filming inside quickly became a nightmare. The building had no ventilation, and during the high-energy musical numbers, performers were forced to breathe thick, recycled air filled with dust and debris. Several extras fainted during the Two Ladies sequence, collapsing from heat and poor air quality. The electrical system, dating back to the 1920s, sparked constantly under the strain of director Bob Fosse's elaborate lighting setups. Cinematographer Jeffrey Unsworth feared the entire building could ignite. Fire marshals were stationed on set every day, ready for disaster. Even the floors were treacherous. Crumbling boards couldn't support heavy cameras without steel reinforcement. During one vigorous dance number, a section gave way, nearly swallowing a dolly track and expensive camera. Despite the dangers, Fosse refused to move. The brewery's atmosphere of rot and ruin perfectly reflected Weimar Germany's decadent collapse. Its crumbling walls and raw decay became Cabaret's secret weapon, infusing every frame with unsettling authenticity that no studio set could match. Joel Grey refused to break character between takes. Joel Grey's master of ceremonies wasn't simply a role, it was a psychological possession. From the moment he stepped on set each morning until rap was called at night, Grey remained the painted, sinister MC. Cast and crew swore that speaking to him between takes felt like interacting with the character itself, every gesture exaggerated, every grin disturbingly sharp. This wasn't method acting in the usual sense. Gray had built a character so psychologically rich, so predatory in his charm, that shedding it during filming proved nearly impossible. The sardonic worldview of the Master of Ceremonies wasn't a costume Gray could take off, it clung to him. Michael York, who played Brian Roberts, recalled feeling unsettled in every shared scene. He never knew if he was performing opposite Joel Grey the actor or the Master of Ceremonies. The line had vanished completely. Director Bob Fosse encouraged the immersion, knowing that the cabaret sequences needed exactly that unsettling energy. But the toll was real. Friends later admitted Gray struggled for months to rid himself of the character's mannerisms and dark psychology. The performance ultimately earned Gray both a Tony Award and an Academy Award, yet those who witnessed it firsthand understood the price. He had been consumed by his own creation. That eerie possession is what still chills audiences half a century later. Bob Fosse choreographed every single movement. Bob Fosse didn't just direct Cabaret, he orchestrated it like a symphony, controlling every glance, gesture, and breath that appeared on screen. For him, drama was choreography, and he approached every scene with the same meticulous precision he brought to dance numbers. Actors were given movement notes that resembled dance notation. Liza Minnelli's Sally Bowles, for instance, had pre-planned gestures for everything, how she lit a cigarette, adjusted her hair, leaned against a wall. Nothing was spontaneous. Even conversations had rhythms Fosse dictated, down to the tilt of a head or the flick of a wrist. His obsession extended to extras. Patrons in the Kit Kat Club didn't just sit and drink. They rehearsed smoking patterns, synchronized sips, and perfectly timed laughs, all staged to create a decadent rhythm that matched Weimar Berlin's atmosphere. The money number showcased Fosse's control at its peak. Every hand gesture, eye movement, and body angle was rehearsed for weeks. He personally demonstrated each motion until the sequence became a hypnotic dance of greed and desire. For some actors, this precision was liberating. It removed guesswork. Others felt suffocated by the lack of creative freedom. But all agreed on one thing: Fosse's total command gave Cabaret a coherence and rhythm no Hollywood musical had ever achieved. The result wasn't just choreography, it was storytelling through movement, every frame pulsing with Fosse's dark, hypnotic vision. The film nearly caused an international incident. Cabaret's production in Germany nearly triggered a diplomatic crisis that threatened to shut the film down completely. Its raw portrayal of Nazi Germany's rise unsettled officials who feared it would tarnish the nation's carefully rebuilt international image. Local politicians lobbied to revoke filming permits, warning that the movie would cement negative stereotypes of German society. The controversy erupted into the press when details of the script leaked. Headlines accused Hollywood of exploiting German tragedy for profit, while protesters gathered outside Munich's abandoned brewery, repurposed as the Kit Kat Club, demanding the Americans leave. Behind closed doors, German film industry leaders delivered an ultimatum to Allied artists: alter the script or risk a ban on all future U.S. productions in Germany. With millions in distribution deals at stake, the studio entered emergency negotiations. Director Bob Fosse and producer Cy Foyer walked a dangerous line. To keep filming alive, they allowed German cultural advisors to review scenes and recommend adjustments that softened the sharpest edges without undermining the core themes. The uneasy compromise satisfied no one. Officials remained suspicious, while Fosse feared his vision might be diluted. Cast and crew worked under constant tension, aware each day could be their last on set. Ironically, the controversy-fueled international publicity money couldn't buy, but it left production overshadowed by a lingering sense of political fragility. Liza Minnelli learned German phonetically. Liza Minnelli's flawless German in Cabaret was an illusion. She learned every word phonetically without understanding a syllable. Minnelli spoke no German when filming began, yet several songs demanded authentic pronunciation that would pass with native speakers. Instead of studying the language, she worked with dialect coaches to master sounds as pure rhythm and tone. Recording sessions became surreal. Minnelli delivered passionate renditions of German lyrics while having no idea what she was actually expressing. Her performances came entirely from instinct, phrasing, and emotional intensity rather than linguistic comprehension. The effect was uncanny. In numbers like Mein Herr, her commanding delivery convinced audiences across Europe she was fluent, with critics praising her authentic German diction. But the phonetic method created challenges. Minnelli couldn't improvise or adjust dialogue. Every line had to be drilled and memorized as sound, not meaning. For Bob Fosse, this limitation became an asset. It forced Minnelli to lean into physicality and raw emotion rather than intellectual interpretation. Ironically, the distance also shielded her. Lyrics laced with Germany's political darkness carried no psychological burden, since to Minnelli they were simply abstract sounds. The result was one of Cabaret's great deceptions, proof that emotional truth can transcend literal understanding. The abortion subplot almost destroyed the film. Cabaret's abortion subplot nearly ended the film before cameras rolled. In 1972, abortion was still a taboo subject in Hollywood, with the production code tightly regulating its depiction. Allied artists' executives were stunned when they discovered the script included a sympathetic portrayal of the procedure. Boardrooms in Los Angeles and New York erupted in panic. Studio heads demanded all abortion references be removed, threatening to shut the production down if screenwriter J. Preston Allen refused. For them, the risk of censorship and public backlash outweighed artistic ambition. But Allen and director Bob Fosse refused to yield. They argued the subplot was essential to Cabaret's core themes of freedom, responsibility, and looming political repression. To cut it, they insisted, would reduce the film to hollow spectacle. The standoff dragged on for weeks while cast and crew idled in Munich, unsure if the movie would survive. Fosse even threatened to walk away, a career-threatening gamble after his last film's commercial failure. His defiance worked. Executives relented but imposed restrictions. The subplot would never feature in marketing, and Fosse was ordered to treat it with appropriate sensitivity. The compromise still broke barriers. When Cabaret premiered, its daring honesty set it apart, cementing its reputation as a fearless landmark in American cinema. Michael York nearly quit during production. Michael York nearly walked off Cabaret mid-production, frustrated by what he saw as neglect and creative betrayal. He had envisioned Brian Roberts as a sophisticated intellectual undergoing a political awakening. Bob Fosse, however, steered the character toward indecision and vulnerability, an interpretation York found both dramatically unsatisfying and personally offensive. York also felt marginalized. While weeks were spent perfecting musical numbers and shaping Liza Minnelli's performance, his dramatic scenes were rushed with little rehearsal. The imbalance left him feeling like a bystander in a story that should have showcased the ensemble. The breaking point came during Brian's political awakening sequences. York wanted to play them with strength and conviction, while Fosse demanded uncertainty and fragility. Their artistic clash turned personal, straining the set's atmosphere. Convinced his performance was being compromised, York seriously considered breaking his contract and returning to England. Producer Cy Fuhr intervened to keep him on board, but the true resolution came from Minnelli. She privately explained Fosse's vision that Brian's weakness underscored the film's themes of moral paralysis in the face of political collapse. York reluctantly embraced this approach. The result was a layered, nuanced performance critics praised, yet the near walkout exposed how Fosse's obsessive style could alienate even his most talented collaborators. The Tomorrow Belongs to Me scene was shot in secret. The chilling Tomorrow Belongs to Me beer garden scene wasn't staged with extras. It was filmed guerrilla style, using hidden cameras and unsuspecting German citizens. Fosse wanted raw authenticity, not rehearsed performances. He placed concealed cameras around a Munich beer garden and had a young actor begin singing as if it were spontaneous patriotism. The reactions were real. Some patrons joined in with frightening enthusiasm, while others looked visibly disturbed. The gradual swell of voices captured how ordinary people could be swept into extremism. The method, however, violated multiple laws. The crew had no permits, insurance, or local approval. Several citizens later complained to police when they discovered they'd been filmed for a Hollywood production, and legal threats demanded compensation or removal. Fosse refused to alter the footage. He believed the scene's power came from its authenticity, the unsettling fact that it wasn't acting but reality on display. The risk paid off. The beer garden sequence became one of Cabaret's most unforgettable moments, showing how fascism seduced the masses. It remains both a cinematic triumph and a controversial example of ethically questionable filmmaking that still sparks debate today. The budget crisis that almost shut down production. Midway through filming, Cabaret almost collapsed under financial strain. Allied artists had underestimated the cost of shooting in Germany under Bob Fosse's perfectionist style. By the project's midpoint, 85% of the budget was gone, yet less than half the film was complete. Executives rushed to Munich furious and ready to shut production down unless drastic cuts were made. They demanded Fosse eliminate musical numbers, slash shooting days, and cut salaries. Fosse refused every compromise. The standoff escalated when the studio froze production accounts, leaving cast and crew unsure if they'd even be paid. Liza Minnelli and other stars stepped up, volunteering to defer salaries. Local German crews agreed to reduced rates, believing the film's artistic importance outweighed short-term losses. Still, the crisis dragged on until European distributors, impressed by early footage, offered emergency financing in exchange for heavy profit participation. Ironically, the financial squeeze improved the final product. Forced to economize, Fosse cut unnecessary spectacle and leaned into intimate, character-driven storytelling. The crisis nearly killed Cabaret, but instead sharpened it, transforming what could have been an extravagant flop into one of cinema's most acclaimed musicals. Joel Grey's makeup was medically dangerous. Joel Grey's unnerving master of ceremonies makeup came at a dangerous cost. The ghostly white mask required thick applications of lead-based face paint, still common in 1972, before cosmetic safety standards tightened. For months, Grey wore it 12 to 14 hours daily. The toxins seeped through his skin, causing headaches, fatigue, and mood swings he initially blamed on the grueling schedule. The eye makeup was equally hazardous. The stark black outlines were created with coal containing antimony and heavy metals. Prolonged exposure triggered painful irritation and temporary vision problems. Studio medics focused on exhaustion and physical injuries, largely ignoring chemical exposure. Grey, committed to consistency, rarely requested breaks or safer alternatives. For him, artistic dedication outweighed personal risk. In the years after filming, Grey reported recurring neurological issues that doctors eventually linked to prolonged exposure. While never fully debilitating, they underscored the unseen dangers actors faced in pursuit of screen authenticity. The toxic regimen became part of the performance. The gaunt pallor, the haunted eyes, the grotesque grin. It wasn't just acting, but physical strain transmuted into character. Grey's sacrifice helped create one of cinema's most chilling villains, though at a personal cost, hidden behind the grease paint. The Nazi uniforms were authentic World War II artifacts. The Nazi uniforms seen in Cabaret weren't Hollywood replicas, they were authentic World War II artifacts. Production designer Rolf Sehetbauer sourced them from surplus dealers and private collectors. Complete with original insignia and decorations, the uniforms carried the weight of genuine history. Wearing them unsettled many cast members. Actors described a chilling sense of inhabiting the skin of real officers who had participated in atrocities. German performers in particular felt disturbed, likening the costumes to ghosts of their nation's darkest past. The authenticity, however, delivered extraordinary realism. Details like aged fabrics, leather belts, and SS insignia lent a disturbing accuracy to scenes of Nazi rallies and street intimidation. Reproductions could never have matched the same psychological effect. Still, the decision was divisive. Some questioned the ethics of repurposing artifacts tied to horrific crimes, while others argued their use reinforced the film's stark confrontation with fascism. The production handled them with care, balancing dramatic needs with preservation for collectors and museums. For Fosse, the choice was deliberate. Cabaret wasn't meant to look polished or theatrical. By grounding the story in tangible relics of history, he forced audiences to confront fascism's reality, not a Hollywood fantasy. The effect remains haunting to this day. The most shocking Cabaret secret was hidden for decades in the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences' sealed voting records. Liza Minnelli won her Best Actress Oscar by literally one vote. When the ballots were tallied for the 1973 Academy Awards, Minnelli's victory over Diana Ross, Maggie Smith, Cicely Tyson, and Liv Ullmann came down to the narrowest possible margin in Oscar history. Academy officials were so concerned about the razor-thin victory that they conducted multiple recounts to ensure accuracy. The final tally showed Minnelli ahead by a single ballot, making her win one of the most precarious in Academy history. This information remained classified for 50 years under Academy policies that protect voting details. Only recent archival releases have revealed how close Cabaret's star came to losing the award that defined her career and cemented the film's legendary status. The single-vote victory makes Minnelli's emotional acceptance speech even more poignant in retrospect. Her tearful gratitude and obvious surprise now carry additional weight, knowing how narrowly she avoided losing to equally deserving competitors. If just one Academy member had voted differently, Cabaret's legacy would be fundamentally altered. The film's cultural impact and Minnelli's career trajectory might have taken completely different paths based on that single anonymous ballot. This reveals the arbitrary nature of awards that seem to validate artistic achievement, but actually depend on the subjective preferences of a small group of industry professionals casting secret votes. Cabaret wasn't just a movie that won 8 Academy Awards and revolutionized the musical genre. It was a production that pushed everyone involved to their absolute limits, creating art through chaos, controversy, and creative conflicts that nearly destroyed the film multiple times. From condemned buildings and toxic makeup to international incidents and budget crises, Cabaret emerged from circumstances that would have killed lesser productions. The authentic Nazi uniforms, secret filming, and life-threatening working conditions all contributed to a movie that achieved its dark themes through equally dark production realities. What makes these facts so shocking isn't just their individual impact, but how they combined to create one of cinema's most enduring masterpieces. Every dangerous decision, every controversial choice, and every near disaster contributed to Cabaret's authentic portrayal of a society dancing toward destruction. If this deep dive into Cabaret's hidden secrets fascinated you, hit that like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes revelations that expose the gap between Hollywood glamour and production reality. Because in Cabaret, as in life, the show must go on, no matter what's happening behind the curtain.